Hi, everybody. Eve Harrow on Rejuvenation for the Land of Israel Network. It is great to be back on the mic, and I know that sounds funny because you have been hearing from me every week. But I pre-taped a couple of interviews to get us through the holidays. I hope you enjoyed them. I did, but you're just going to hear from me today. Just a few minutes, kind of a wrap up. It is October 7th, 2018, the 28th day of Tishrei, 5779, and Tishrei, of course, is the month of the high holidays, which are now behind us, and I do mean in some senses, with all the eating behind us. But anyhow, I did have a great Sukkot. I hope you guys did too. I just wanted to share a little bit of what was going on here. I got out to Ibei Nachal, where both Jeremy and Ari are living. Really took my whole family out there, and as well as Tamar Fold, Ari Fold's daughter, and I introduced everybody and had a beautiful afternoon. The guys are great. They're doing well. They're building a beautiful community. It's really something to see, and I hope those of you who are getting out to Israel can also get out there. So once again, I want to thank them, though, for the opportunity to have this network, and I know that they haven't been on here as much as they would like to be with so much going on in their lives. So we're keeping it going for them, but I just wanted to report to you that they really are both doing well on so many levels. And of course, I want to thank Tabitha and Ben for doing everything that they do to keep all this going. And the holiday season is really a crazy one. But what did I do during the intermediate days of Sukkot when I wasn't necessarily in the kitchen feeding a whole host of people, which was also great in its own way? So I had 2 days that I was doing tours for One Israel Fund, 2 full buses, which was really special. One of those days was down in the Jordan Valley, and some of you know I will not go Sukkot without getting down to the Jordan Valley and having something to do with the date trees that so symbolize the holiday. So it was really an eclectic day. Started off in Mevouot Yericho with Doron and Meirav Alush, who grow dates, and we were out there in their plantations and learning about the trees and tasting the dates and having silan and also trying some date beer that they've been making. They're really a great couple, Mevouot Yericho, just outside of Jericho, and they are both very traditional Jews, and he's a kippah wearer. They're originally from France, and a couple of years ago, during the sabbatical in Israel, they also kept Shemitah. They kept sabbatical in its strictest, meaning that all their dates were just sold here in Israel. They didn't export, which is a really difficult thing. The date farmers, most of their income is from exporting the dates, and it's not an easy thing to leave that market for a year, having to do that because the dates grown during the sabbatical year, as anything grown in the land of Israel, are considered holy and cannot be eaten outside of the land. So that was our first stop, and then we had lunch in Cafe where we go every year, and then went to Beit HaArava, which was a community that's restarted in the last few years, right near where it used to be. Beit HaArava was started in the pre-state days, was destroyed during the War of 1948. There was a potash plant there. Some amazing pictures of what went on there, on how, just the tremendous heat. But it was a company that was also worked with the Jordanians, and they tried to keep it going and kind of keep the whole thing out of Israel's War of Independence, but didn't work out for a whole variety of reasons. And the community ended up being destroyed and restarted just a few years ago. So we met with their director of security. He took us all the way to the Jordan River. We were right near the border with Jordan, and showed us some of the graves that they have there from the 30s and 40s and the people who lived there and didn't make it, and gave us a fascinating perspective on those days and on the current days. And then he toddled off because he was in the middle of planning date. I shouldn't say toddled when it comes to security chiefs. They don't toddle anywhere. But he was in the middle of doing some planting. So he spent a few minutes with us, and then he went off to do that, serious security guy. No kippah on his head, not that it matters. And then we went off to the Afar Samon farm to one of my favorite people, Guy Ehrlich, who is growing the ancient Judean balsam again. and frankincense and myrrh and all kinds of biblical herbs. We did a whole workshop there making an ancient recipe of cosmetics. So he gave us all some of that with all some great stuff in there, and told us how he's connected to the Temple Institute, even though he doesn't understand how all of this happened. And that is just like a totally amazing thing, and beautiful to talk to him as usual. I'm going to be going to Limud, UK at the end of December. I've been invited back to Birmingham to present for a few days, and he's going to be one of the top, not him, but the Judean balsamer, the Apharsamon oil of old, is going to be one of the topics that I present. I'm working on a PowerPoint right now because that whole subject, as I'm sure a lot of you know, totally fascinates me. And I interviewed him a while back. Some of you might have caught it. So that's like part of that ancient Israel coming to life. It turns out, I don't know if I talked about this. Last couple of weeks, I read an article that we've got the Methuselah palm. We've got that date seed from Masada that was sprouted a few years ago, growing kibbutz keturah. It's a male, so it's giving pollen. But it turns out that they've managed to germinate a couple of other seeds from Masada, hoping that one of them is a female so that we can get some fruit. So there's all this great stuff going on here between the wine and the dates and the oils and just bringing back so many of the things from the past. So I'm trying to get that out there as much as I can. But after sitting with Guy for a while, we went over and met with some of the people from the Megillot Search and Rescue Unit. These people are just a whole group of Israelis who live in the area from Ma'ale Adumim and Kfar Adumim, mainly settlers, who volunteer to go find people who get lost in the hills, because there's some great hikes around there. Megillot, that region of Megillot, which is the northern to probably mid area of the Dead Sea and the mountains around it, called Megillot after the Dead Sea Scrolls. There's a lot of hiking, a lot of great trips, but then people get lost, get dehydrated. So they were showing us, they have a really cool drone that can go. It's a regular drone, and when people get lost, the drone, of course, can fly around and find them. But one of the things that we were there for, is the One Israel Fund, is trying to get them a different kind of a drone that can deliver things to people. So say they find somebody who's dehydrated, or night is falling and it gets really cold in the desert really fast as soon as the sun goes down. Doesn't matter how hot the day was. So let's say they're suffering from hypothermia, all kinds of problems. So the rescue team finds them by the drone and knows where they are, but it might be a few hours until they can actually get to them. Because the terrain can be really difficult. And let's say somebody's fallen and you got to get all together into some valley where there's no paths. Anyhow, so their next goal is a drone that can deliver things to people, get them some water, get them a thermal blanket, whatever it is, some medical equipment if they need, just to patch themselves up until help can get to them. They saved 500 people last year, which is just like outrageous. And these are people from all walks of Israeli society, from doctors and nurses to people who own garages to educators, volunteering to do this. And, you know, once again, at the end of the day, thinking to myself, like, wow, I can't believe that I belong to the same nation as these people. They're just so amazing. And they don't want anything for themselves. They just want, you know, equipment to be able to go and save lives and have their lives be disrupted as often as possible so that they can get out there and bring people home again. So the next day, went to the other end of the country, also guiding a One Israel Fund bus, went all the way down to the corner of Israel, Sinai, and the Negev, and Gaza. So we were all the way in that corner in a place called Kerem Shalom. And Kerem Shalom used to be a kibbutz. It's not anymore, even though, as they said, like, it's still a kibbutz, meaning it's not socialized. It doesn't have the underpinnings of a kibbutz, like the ideology of the kibbutz, but it's a kibbutz still in the sense of everybody being very involved with each other and very caring about each other. So it was a not religious kibbutz. And again, you guys know what I feel about these words. I want to throw them in there just to save time. They had 25 families there up until this summer with the balloons and all the fighting, and they're surrounded, at least on the Gaza side. There's an enormous concrete wall there. They painted all kinds of graffiti on. Otherwise, they would be getting shot at by snipers constantly from Gaza. And there's demonstrations on the other side of that wall all the time. They had 25 families there until this last summer, when they were joined by 13 religious families. So they're now a mixed community. So more than 50%. doubled, right? Like 25 to 38. So do the math, you know what I'm saying? There. And while we were there that day, there was a brit, there was a circumcision for an 8-day-old boy born to one of the religious families. And there were a whole bunch of other people who'd come down there also from Jerusalem and other places in the country to celebrate with them. They'd built a really big sukkah. All the houses there are filled. If you wanted to move there, no room for you right now. Their challenges are unbelievable. Met with the security chief, the Rav Shatz there as well, who just has such a difficult situation to keep them all safe. These Rav Shatzim, who are the civilian security chiefs of communities in Judea and Samaria and on the Gaza border, are really some of the unsung heroes of this country. Devote their lives, sometimes pay a very high personal price. Marriages, not so easy when you're walking out the door constantly, showering, with your beeper right next to you, like, really sleeping with your boots on. And I'm not exaggerating at all. And they're totally amazing to keep their communities and their families safe. And he was just listing some of the challenges that they have there. And you can't even imagine. And we were just so inspired by these people. And they're not going anywhere. As a matter of fact, other people are joining them. And the more that we get pushed back, the more people are pushing back. So I knew about this brit before we went down there, because Anita Tucker, who for some of you may know who she is, she used to live in Netzer Chazani in Gaza, in Gush Katif. She grew like meter-long celery. I still can't look at celery without thinking about her. She just became a farmer, former American who moved to Gush Katif, was there already in the very early days in the 1970s. Of course, got thrown out of her home, and her home was destroyed, and her farm was destroyed in the debacle of 2005. But she had heard about the trip, and she wrote to me that one of her, I think it's a great nephew, but the father of this baby, she told me was making this brit, and otherwise he would have spoken to the group, but he was a little bit busy prepping his child to join the Jewish people. So I knew that was going to be happening, but it's still an incredible thing to see. You really, we were listening. After there, we went over to Shlomit in Cholot Chalutza, to an area where some of the Gush Katif people have literally replanted themselves, and we had lunch there. And one of the Sukkot, and you're just listening to the Egyptian army fighting with ISIS, like 800 meters away in the border, in the Sinai border. And it's like just not so far. There's all these crazy things going on in Gaza and in Sinai. And here on the Israeli side, having circumcision ceremonies and building things and growing everything pretty much. In Cholot Chalutza is growing in the inert sand, from etrogim to pomegranates to pineapples to tomatoes. And it's just like, it's impossible to describe. It's just impossible to describe. Then we went up to Kisufim, the Eshkol region, one of the kibbutzim right on the Gaza border, a little further north, and had an incredible meeting with the head of security for like 33 communities there, and with a couple of his Rav Shatzim who came out from their communities and spoke with us about the challenges that they face. And while we're there in this little area, just like right in from the Gaza Strip behind Kibbutz Kisufim, we see a fire balloon land, start a fire truck goes zipping by us, and this is not just a daily occurrence, it's almost sometimes an hourly occurrence. Burnt fields everywhere we look. And it's just like there's a total war of attrition going on there. I don't know who knows. I don't know who cares. But these people are just holding the line there, and they just want people to know, and they just want people to care, and they just want the Israeli government to do something about it. Not that anybody takes going to war lightly, and we discussed a lot of the options. Some people on my bus had some ideas for the security chiefs, which I thought was interesting, because I wouldn't for a second even begin to think of telling these guys anything that they should do or any advice, because they have seen it all. Some more unsung heroes. And once again, this feeling of, a lot of times you go to these places and you think that, or we think that we're going to support them and we're going to inspire them and we're going to say, hey guys, we're with you, and come home from these areas feeling so humbled and so awed and so appreciative of people in this country that every single day are just holding the borders with their kids and in such difficult situations. And then you just see it up close, and, grateful to be able to bring people down there, and grateful to have the opportunity to meet people like this, and just like that, it just doesn't go away, and just really, wow. And, hopefully we'll be taking other people down there. I'm going to be guiding a mission from a synagogue in Toronto in December. And some of the couple of the people who organized that were on my bus that day. So that went into the itinerary for the December trip. And of course, like, happy to take people down there whenever I can. And, whenever I have time to go down and just like do what I can for whoever's there on that border, which is just every single day. Lots of riots. A lot of even people in Israel don't know what's going on there, but our soldiers are there too. And obviously, in addition to the people in the communities, our soldiers are there, and like, what's going on, of course, is Hamas or whoever's doing this from the other side, sending kids, sending women to shoot and to throw things, knowing that our soldiers are not going to shoot back at them. Whether that's wise or not, discussion for another day. But just like totally using whatever they can. And then just to segue into some of the other things that I've been doing the last couple of weeks, we've been invited to a lot of weddings, which is totally great. And some of the weddings everyone is different, of course, and everyone is joyous. And some of them, of course, involve families where there's been divorce, either the bride or the groom, the parents were divorced and either remarried or not remarried, but there's that, blended family and step parents and who's paying for this, and the tensions between different sides of the family, which anyhow you get in the best of situations during weddings. But at a wedding not long ago where it was a second wedding for both, and, they have their kids there, and everybody was very happy for everybody. And I was talking to one of the kids. This is a relative, and I was also at my father's second wedding, or actually third wedding, and it's not an easy situation to be at. I wasn't at the chuppah ceremony, at the actual wedding ceremony, there for the party, and that's what happened here with these kids too. This is not an easy thing in any circumstance, I think. Maybe if a parent's been widowed for a long time, to see them remarry, but when there's been a divorce, so it's not easy, and I'm sure a lot of you listening know what that's about. And, I was looking at this situation, and then I was party to a conversation between two of my sons. They were talking about religion. One of them is a little more devoted to the religious side of his world than the other one is, and was explaining that, he's not always thrilled to go, let's say, to synagogue, or not, the prayers are not always speaking to him, but he does it anyway because the moments in religion where you do get those highs or those great feelings, be it like in a singing situation or something else, then, that was worth it. And I was thinking about how, again, like that, most of our lives to a great degree in any relationship we're in is like maintenance, right? Like even in the best of marriages. So most of the time you're not like bowled over with waves of love for your partner, right? A lot of it during the day's maintenance. And then you have those moments where, you are like reminded again, and there's that wave of love for your partner. But a lot of us, I think, and maybe it's because of movies or I don't know what, think that we should just have that all the time. Like there just should be that heart pounding, whatever, all the time. And it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that, I think, in any relationship, and definitely in a relationship, I guess you could say, with God as well. We're not always going to be, or maybe some people are, and great for you if that's a situation, but we're not going to always be in these great wows in a relationship with God either. And a lot of it is maintenance to keep the relationship going so that we can get to those wow moments. And then I started correlating a little bit with something that I think about when it comes to national relationships, right? Country to country. And we talk about this, that, people that say, Israel and Saudi Arabia are now friends. Israel and Saudi Arabia are not friends. Israel and Saudi Arabia right now have a relationship of mutual interests. Okay, everybody hates Iran and understands what Iran's all about. So you could say that, I suppose, that and instead of saying maintenance, you could say mutual interests. When it comes to, let's say, marriages, right? I mean, most of us have a mutual interest with our spouse or with our partner in maintaining a framework of, let's say, family life. Our mutual interests, let's say in my case, are our children and the lives that we have together. And so even when it's not like bells and whistles, we stay together because we have a lot of mutual interests. And when marriages disintegrate, it's because whatever was going wrong in the relationship, obviously if it's abusive, I'm not even talking about that, but even when two people are just grow apart, then even the mutual interest that they have of their children and of keeping the family together is not enough to outweigh the unhappiness or whatever it is, the disappointments that it is, and then and then you have new beginnings and new relationships, and they should just all be good. But when it comes to, I guess, like, I'll talk for myself, like my relationship with Hashem. So I'm not always having those wow moments. A lot of them I have talked about on this show, those unbelievable moments of awe where I was like totally feel that Hashem is everywhere and carrying me. But I have a mutual interest with him as well, which is why I pray to him or feel that he's in my life, to keep my people going in safety and security, to keep my family going, to keep me doing whatever it is that he wants me to be doing in this world and my whatever life that I'm leading, to, give me the strength and the abilities to do what I'm doing. So I guess you could say that that's also a relationship of mutual interest. Though I don't know how mutual it is from his side, although he did create a world of thinking and independent people, and not just a world of, at least so we believe in Judaism, a world of people on automatic pilot, or people who are angels and are just doing whatever is right and good because they have no choice. But he created a very fractious world of people who've got choices all the time. So I guess there is some kind of mutual interest in that, that he wants us doing whatever it is that he deems is the right way to run this world and care about each other and be decent to each other and tolerant, listening to each other and not fighting with each other, so that the world will ultimately get to a place where he's happy with us and we're happy with him and all is good. So I guess you could say maintenance or mutual interest is what defines virtually every kind of relationship, whether it's nation to nation or our relationship to God or our relationship to each other or our relationship to the significant others in our lives. Anyhow, so it's like a whole lot of stuff that I've been thinking about, not unusually, in the past couple of weeks. And then moving along from that, I have my trip set up. So I'll be going to the States in just a couple of weeks, and Camera has organized the Committee for Accuracy in Middle East Reporting. I think that's the whole of their name, but they're the bulk of where I'm going in the States. So if you want details, you can write to Tracy, TRACEY, @camera.org if you want to sign up for certain things. But in the meantime, I can tell you that I will be in Chicago, and you can already sign up for that event. It is open on October 25th. I'll be in Tampa, Florida on October 29th, Miami, October 31st, Chevy Chase in the Washington, D.C. area, November 4th, and the Philadelphia area on November 5th. And then I will be at the One Israel Fund dinner in New York City on November 6th. So a lot of other stuff going on in between there. And you can definitely write to me, eve@thelandofisrael.com, and I'll give you some more details about my trip. And it's shaping up like beautifully, and I'm excited to go, excited to bring Israel out there and talk about the main issue for Camera, of course, is the bias against Israel in the American media, but it's beyond that. And one of the things, of course, that I see as I get to travel the land and take people around is just like the lies that people tell about Israel are so in our faces, be it that Israel is racist or Israel's apartheid. And you really see it when you're here. But that's some of what I'm going to be talking about, of course, in the States. But, but more than that, the media bias against Israel is not just against Israel. It's against a lot more than that. And not just against conservatives or whatever labels people are putting on themselves right now. But it's an interesting battleground that we've got here. And just like on the Gaza border and just like on the Sinai border. So we're kind of sitting here at the forefront of a battle that's much, much bigger than just Israel and the Jewish nation, as it so often appears that we are. So I'd love to see you. If you're in any of these places, come here, come see, come ask. And I'd, just love to meet you anyway. Those of you, and, get like some FaceTime would be absolutely terrific. And if I have some free time when I'm in the States, and can meet for a cup of coffee or, to talk about some other things, especially Israel, then I would love to be able to do so. So be in touch. And I think that's it for today. Short and sweet. And I'll be back next week, still before I go. So thank you, everyone, so much for listening. Again, thanks to Tabitha and Jeremy. And to the network, the Land of Israel Network, Eve Harrow on Rejuvenation. Take care, everybody. Goodbye for now.
It's much more real than any reality show. It's much more dramatic than any drama. It's much more funny than any comedy. It's like a game show, but it's no game. It's our lives.
Listen to Inside Israel Today with Gil Hoffman, political correspondent for the Jerusalem Post, every week on thelandofisrael.com.